One
Recording
nation,
in progress.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We have a jam-packed full agenda tonight, so we are going to get right into it and start with open forum. So first item on our agenda for open forum is the select board want to acknowledge and thank our fire department, as well as all of our police and first responders. For anybody who doesn't know, on July 24th, we had a 3-alarm house fire here in Westford, making the fire even more difficult and hazardous was the fact that it was in the high 90s that day, and the humidity was, out of sight. And yet our firefighters all rose to the occasion. Not only folks who were on duty, but everybody who was off duty came in to help all of us. In addition, we had to call in mutual aid. So we want to thank all of our partners in mutual aid who came to our assistance that afternoon. In return, there was a subsequent house fire in Concord, and I know that Westford, after fighting its own fire on Sunday afternoon, went out to Concord to help them with their house fire, given the fact that the temperatures and humidity were still outrageously high. And my understanding that went to 6 alarms before it was under control. So this is what makes our community and our fire departments and interdepartmental connections and help all worthwhile, and how we all come to the aid of one another. We'd also like to thank the police who were there that afternoon, who helped out, and as well as the dispatchers who were responding to calls in a calm and professional way and keeping everybody calm. So on behalf of the select board and the town, we'd like to thank you, Chief, and thank all of our firefighters for their efforts that day. And I do know, and I want to turn it over to you now, that there are 4 very special young men whom you'd like to acknowledge as well.
Yes, it was very challenging. I do want to thank all of our public safety personnel, including the mutual aid that assisted us, and they even provide station coverage for the town while we were busy fighting that fire. We face challenges every emergency situation we respond to, and on Sunday the 24th it was no different. We had some accessibility problems, and we had the high temperatures we were dealing with. When I responded, I was only a couple minutes away from my house, and when I arrived, I had Kyle Gerard, one of the Burton explorers, and he immediately asked what I needed, and we started pulling hose, and we started getting a water supply, setting up the ladder truck. It was just, he worked with me, and whatever I needed, he did. And then we had the other boys, young men, come along. We requested the state rehab truck, which is they provide water and refreshments and a climate controlled place to relax. And it was going to be about an hour out. So while this was going on, while we're waiting and fighting the fire, these young men were out passing out water balls. They were pouring it over firefighters' heads, giving them towels for their necks. And, this went on for about 2 hours. I couldn't step without running into one of them that was trying to hand me a water ball and stuff. And we appreciate what they did. I think it would have been a different scenario if we didn't have them there helping out. We had one firefighter that had to get transported because of heat-related injuries, and he is fine. But I'd like to thank those Groton explorers, Kyle Gerard, Ryan Belmore, I hope I'm saying it right, Anthony Cianci, and Nathan Bernier. They kept our firefighters hydrated. At the end, they were picking up all the water balls. They were helping us roll hose. They were just, it was outstanding having the extra help there. And if they ever aspire to be firefighters, they certainly would do a great job.
Well, thank you all. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to those 4 young men for showing up and for, obviously providing the very significant help and assistance to our firefighters. It is greatly appreciated by all of us, and you know, certainly your actions and your willingness to step up says such a great deal about your character and the type of young men you are. So thank you all very much. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next, this is a night to honor and acknowledge our youth, both here in Westford and in Groton, as we just heard. It is really, it's so gratifying when we have young folks who really take an interest and you know, in their community and in assisting and helping one another. So Rahul Ram is a 5th grader at the day school who received the President's Environmental Youth Award for his work on sustainability at the garden community that he is a part of and participates in. He set up a, he basically did an analysis and determined that, you know, people coming individually to the community garden to water their plots was using and contributing to a great deal of carbon emissions into our atmosphere. So he set up a website and he encouraged the folks in his garden community to sign up on the website and to water one another's garden plots when they went to water their own garden plot, thereby basically preventing, you know, lots of individual car trips to the garden. And he estimates that by doing this, that the project has reduced the amount of emissions into the air by 2,500 pounds of carbon emissions, which I think is incredible because every little bit helps. And so for this, he was honored and awarded, I said, the President's Environmental Youth Award, and this is across the entire country. I mean, this isn't just Massachusetts. And so, Rahul, kudos to you for your creativity, for your ability, you know, for your enthusiasm, your innovation, for getting this project going, and you know, for helping Westford to work towards its attainability of net zero and sustainability. It's a great project, and I have a feeling this isn't going to be the last project or development that you come up with over the next years. So congratulations on your award. Okay, next. I would just like to announce that Westford was found by the Safe Wise Institute to be the 6th safest community in Massachusetts. So again, kudos to all of our public safety officials who helped to make this happen. And really just confirms that what we, I think, all suspect is that we really do live in a very safe community, in a community where we all look out for one another. So thank you to all of our public safety people for making Westford a safe community, and also for all of the residents who help to make our community as safe as possible. 2 more announcements I have, and then I'll, you know, so this is what happens, folks, when you don't meet for a month, okay? So 2 more announcements, and then I'll turn it over to the board to see if anybody else has any announcements. The strategic planning retreat is scheduled for Thursday, September 8th at 5 p.m. at Kimball's. To register, you need to, if you go to the town website, you will find a link there where you can register for the strategic planning retreat. We ask that you please register so that we have an idea of a count and of how many people are going to attend. You know, this is the first time in 2 years that we have been able to hold a retreat because of the pandemic. We're very excited about being able to come together again in the retreat and to hold this. We hope to bring everybody up to speed on some major happenings in town. There will also be many exhibits and booths of what committees and commissions and groups have been doing in the town over the last year. So we hope to see everybody there on Thursday, September 8th at 5 p.m. at Kimball's. Jody.
Yes, so as of today, we have 85 registered. So I would just like to encourage people to go ahead and register so that we can give Kimball Farm a count. But we're very excited, and we have more exhibits than I think we've ever had. So it's going to be a great event.
Okay, Scott?
Yes, so two things. One is Monday the 15th is Indian Independence Day. Westford recognized that with our region's actual Indian community. Very good turnout on Sunday on the Common. So, to those in our community, happy Independence Day for India a little bit early. And secondly, but somewhat related, Westford members would like to have or it's just planning to have an international block party, which really is a cultural fair, but it sounds better to say block party than cultural fair. It is October 16th at the Franco Club on Prescott Street in Westford. And what we're trying to do is get a broad representation of the various cultures, ethnicities, people groups that have made Westford what it is today. So they just have arts, food, entertainment, crafts, whatever. So if you would like to have your group represented, right now we're sort of planning the space. So drop an email to Westford members 01886, that's our zip code, at gmail.com. Or if you forget that, you can always just drop me an email or give me a call.
Okay, thank you. And then the last announcement that I have is that I do just want to announce that our special town meeting is scheduled for Monday, October 17th at 7 p.m. at Westford Academy. The town meeting documents are starting to go up on our website, so they are viewable there. And I believe, and Jody, or if Patty's out there, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that submissions for articles on the warrant are due August 16th from any committee or commission here or group here in the town, and all petition articles are due in the town clerk's office on August 18th. So those are the two dates folks need to remember right now, along with October 17th as the date of special town meeting. That's all I have. Anita?
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize Steve Edwards from WestfordCAT, who left after 10 years of videoing our select board meetings, and then in his spare time did more videoing and editing of our meetings to create 10 Minute Citizen. He's moving on to another company, but we just wanted to wish him the best of luck and thank you for all of his years of service at WestfordCAT.
Absolutely. He really developed the protocol for videoing and showing all of our meetings from the very get-go. It's hard to believe it. He's been here for 10 years. So thank you, Steve. All right. With that, moving on to our 7:05 p.m. Item, we have a public hearing, which is a request to approve a change of officers and beneficial interest of a general law, chapter 138, section 12, all alcohol restaurant license at Burton's Grill of Westford, doing business as Burton's Grill, 1 Cornerstone Square. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
In a second. Okay, all those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. And now is there a motion to waive reading notice of the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Patty, I know you're out there. Let me ask you, is everything in order? I see you, Patty. I don't hear you yet. Patty, you're still muted.
I was promoted. I'm
Okay,
here now. Thank you. Yes, according to Andy, this is all set. I believe the attorney is also present, and this is one of those that was done, it's being done by the ABCC for the most part. We just need to approve it. It's happening at all the Burton's locations, and attorney Moradian. I'm sorry, I probably completely blew that name. I apologize.
That's all right.
I can tell you more.
okay, Attorney
Meridian.
Thank you. You just want to update us?
Sure. So essentially what is going on here is Burton's Grill LLC owns and operates the Burton's Grill and Red Heat Tavern chains. There are 11 restaurants in Massachusetts, and then there are 11 restaurants in various states up and down the East Coast. And there is a equity ownership change at the grandparent corporate level. So the ABCC, since this involves 11 units in Massachusetts, has kind of pre-approved the transfer we're doing. And now we're going to the various towns to get the local board's approval. It's an equity ownership at the grandparent level. There will be no changes to the restaurant. You won't notice anything when this happens. It's going to remain Burton's Grill and the same operation, just an ownership change up at the upper tiers of the restaurant.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
You have a good night.
All right. We're at our 7:10 p.m. item, which is a consent agenda. And we have a request to approve the following. A banner for the 2022 state primary election. The applicant is the town manager's office. The date is Tuesday, August 30th through Friday, September 9th. The location is in front of the First Parish Church. The second request for a banner is Westford Academy Holiday Bazaar. The applicant is the Westford Academy Holiday Bazaar Committee. The dates are Saturday, November 26, 2022 through Tuesday, December 6, 2022. The location is the J.B. Fletcher Library. And then the last banner request, file this under Let's Be Prepared, is for Westford Academy graduation. The applicant is Kelly Guthrie on behalf of the Westford Educational Foundation. The dates are Friday, May 26, 2023 to Monday, June 5th, 2023, and the location is the First Parish Church. We also have 2 requests for road closures. The first is a church picnic. The applicant is David Welsh. The date is Sunday, September 11th from 9 to 1 p.m. The location is 10 Church Street to the intersection of Broadway Street. And the second one is for a block party. The applicant is Maureen Wilsinski. The date is Saturday, September 17th with a rain date of Sunday, September 18th. The time is 1:30 to 6:30 p.m. The location is 10 Burn Avenue to 30 Burn Avenue. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Subject to public safety constraint recommendations. Yes, so moved.
A second? Okay. All those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. we are at our 7:15 p.m. item, which is a resident's request to consider disposing of the following town-owned properties. The first one is parcel ID 078-0075-000, also known as 20 Pine Tree Trail, containing approximately 0.073 acres of land. The applicant is Douglas McDonald of 18 Pine Tree Trail. And the second one is the parcel ID 078-0076-0000, also known as 31 Burn Avenue, containing approximately 0.128 acres of land. And the applicant is Ron Palaskis. So let's take the first one first, Pine Tree Trail. Jody?
Yes, thank you. So I got an email from Doug, the resident, a few months ago, I think, and he lives right next door to this. And this is a small parcel that abuts his property. I think some people have dumped on the property, you know, leaves and so on, and he'd like to purchase it. So we did some research, which determined that no other town board or department had concerns with this. And then I heard from Ron Palaskis, who is the abutter to the adjacent parcel, and he expressed interest in also purchasing the one adjacent to his property. So basically the process is we take it to the select board first, and if you are in support, you can declare it surplus, and then we need to take it to town meeting. And if they agree, then we can proceed with the process to sell the parcel. So Jeff Morrison is also here. Neither one of these parcels are buildable lots. They're just small, you know, pieces on the end of these two residents' property. So that's kind of in a nutshell, but Jeff can speak more to that if you have questions. And the two applicants are here, the residents that asked to purchase it.
Questions from the board? John?
I have a question for Jeff. That's pretty well overgrown stuff, and it's got some drainage, you know, for the road alongside of it. Where does the boundary line actually run? And what's the width of the road going to be after we determine that?
Jeff can speak to that once he gets promoted, but let me just say that we are in the process of doing some work in that area, and we are going to be doing a survey. So we can certainly incorporate a little bit of an extension on the survey to understand exactly, you know, where the parameters are, but Jeff can speak to that too, so.
Hi, Jeff, go ahead.
Right. I apologize. While I was getting promoted, your question cut out. So I wonder if you could repeat your question.
Well, the lots along that side, or that road, it's all overgrown. There's a drainage ditch runs along parallel to that road. And I just wondered where the right of way for the road ends and where the boundary line for the lots would begin. And are there any other implications of that, like any flooding zones or anything like that with that property?
So I can't speak to if there are any particular flooding concerns, but in terms of the location of the right of way, what I will say is I thought I heard Jody mention is we don't have benefit yet of a detailed on the ground property survey, boundary survey. That's what it would take to know that. However, with a roadway, there are certain legal issues at play. The roadway is where the roadway is, and the town would undoubtedly be able to maintain that roadway in its present location. I know if you look at the GIS map, it does seem a bit odd in that area, and that the road might actually cut into those lots. But we would just want to be crystal clear if the select board and town meeting moves forward. We just want to be upfront about that, and the town would only convey whatever land is not required to maintain that roadway.
Okay, thank you.
And we don't have, as Jody mentioned, we don't have any concerns about the parcels being conveyed. We actually would have a little more concern if they weren't conveyed to properties owners that abut those parcels, because then there could be some use issues that come into play. And so that's why we requested that they reach out to the building commissioner to learn if there's any limitations on use. That's all.
Okay, thanks you.
Scott?
Yes, I mean, on the, about a principle, I mean, we have two lots that have got no real value to the town as indicated by department heads, and if they are of value to, butters, that's a good thing to do, is dispose of them. I guess two questions involved in that. One is, it wasn't quite clear from town council's opinion, Jody, so maybe you can tell me. Town meeting would of course approve the sale or not, but then is this require a public bid process to be open and transparent, or can it just be sold to the butters? That's the first question. Secondly, I know Jeff mentioned concerns about trails and so forth, easements. So how does that work in terms of the motion tonight to dispose? We get to dispose contingent upon easements being declared for trails and road?
Okay, so I think because of the value of this property, there's different ways that we can dispose of it. But I think what we don't know if anyone else is interested. It's unlikely, but I think we certainly could do an auction as we've done on other town properties, and then consider it that way. I think I'm more comfortable with doing a public process than just selling it to the two abutters. But we have time to determine that. So I'm not aware of trails on the property. I think the easement and right of way is what we were looking into. Again, these are small parcels, and they're not lower than the side where the drainage is either. So I don't see that. I think we just wanted to determine where the right of way is and make sure we were clear on that before we moved forward.
Jeff, are you aware of any trails on this property? Because
I guess it's easements I'm worried about.
Yeah, easements is what we want to determine, but it's not, I mean, it's, I don't have the dimensions in front of me, but it might be 50, 70 feet off the, parcel, off the line to the edge of the road. So
I'm not aware of any easements, certainly a record.
Yeah.
Nothing appears to be recorded. And so the only thing that we're aware of is just in question is the location of the actual roadway improvements.
And I should mention, we did notify all the butters too, so.
Okay, so what you need from us tonight, at least to start the process, is to have us declare each of these parcels as surplus, correct?
Yes, and support putting it on the warrant, and then of course we'll continue to do the work, and if town meeting agrees, then we can look at how we want to dispose of the property. So
okay, so is there a motion to declare each of these properties as surplus and to put them on the warrant for town meeting to declare whether or not they should be sold?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, Jeff. We're at our 7:30 p.m. Item, which is a presentation of WestfordCAT's financial report. So I think Sarah Fletcher, who's the executive director, and Jack Wang, who is the treasurer, are going to report on WestfordCAT's financial condition. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
And hello, Jack.
Good evening, everyone. And did you want me to go first, or would you like Sarah to go first?
Up to the two of you.
I'm going to defer right to Jack. He has the handle on all the nitty-gritty on the finances.
All right. I'll go first, but I want to say that Sarah will then provide the color commentary that'll give context to all the results that we're showing. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us again. I do want to take a moment to review are the results of from our financial report, and happy to address whatever questions, concerns, issues, or remarks that you may have. Before we get into the real numbers, I just want to say that, you know, coming out of the pandemic, you know, WestfordCAT continues to make remarkable progress. You know, not enough credit can go to Sarah and the staff and my colleagues on the board for the tremendous progress that we have made and continue to make to further enhance WestfordCAT's position both in the community, enhance its financial stability, and so on and so forth. So, you know, Sarah, when she gets to her part, we'll talk about some of the new programs that we've initiated and some of the things that we're going to be doing going forward. But that while we still, of course, have our long-term challenges, we had a really good year. So if I may, I don't know if you want to go off of this, or we do have a summary, like a one-page summary slide.
That would be good.
Yeah, right here. Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you. So the first four items are really balance sheet items. And so if you look at our statement of financial position, we ended the year in 2021 in really good shape. $466,000 in cash in the bank, $133,000 in short-term marketable investments. If you add those two numbers together, we are just about 600,000. And that represents just over 1 year's worth of gross revenue, not net, gross revenue. So that gives us a pretty substantial cushion for a future. And what it does is allows us to invest in infrastructure, right? Invest in the capabilities of WestfordCAT to better serve the community, to further the news operation, to conduct programs, cater to kids and students in the community, to further work with the schools, both WA and Wcat, as well as Innovation Academy, and coordinate programs with them, which I know that Sarah's going to be talking about all those things. It also gives us time as an organization to learn how to be better at doing things like some fundraising, and to further enhance and make our operations more efficient. So we're in a good spot. Again, not without our long-term challenges, but we're in a good spot. Accounts receivable really represents 1/4 of our revenue receivable from both Comcast and Verizon. That is the franchise fee revenue that you collect and then remit a portion to us. And so that's driven by the number of subscribers subscribing to cable TV services, both for Comcast and Verizon. So that number, to a certain extent, is a little bit out of our control, but the majority of our revenue is derived from that. We'll see that more in just a moment. Payable, really, it's a negative number. It's just because we pay our bills very quickly, we're able to. So you can see that the franchise fees at $432,839, that represents the bulk of our revenue. You know, and we get 100,000 and plus change quarterly, again, based on the subscribers. So in some ways, you know, with people being at home, they can watch more TV, which helps us. I don't know what good TV's on, but they can watch something. The flip side is, you know, these franchise fees do not reflect the subscriber base gradually shifting to internet-only type of services and using streaming services such as Hulu and Netflix and things like that, which I believe I know members of our board have kind of talked about before. So our long-term challenge still remains the same, is that the gradual shift in the business model and the entire business model of both Comcast and Verizon to deliver internet services more than cable TV services. So that number is on a downward trend. However, given our financial stability, given our financial base and our cushion from cash and short-term investments at the top, like I said, it buys us a lot of time to learn and to better operations and do all the things that we've been doing and continue to do. And one of the things that we've been doing is been doing a better job and learning how to do a better job in fundraising. we have a long way to go, but things like capital grants, grants from organizations, we were actually we weren't a finalist, but we made it in a couple rounds for the Cummings Foundation, the 100 for 100. That was, again, great work to Sarah on that. And so our fundraising operations have gradually become better and better, and so help offset some of the decrease in the franchise fees. So we're learning to be better as an organization doing that. So at the very bottom line, you see change in net assets, which effectively is net profit for the for the for-profit sector. But we had a good year. The prior year, the number was higher because we had the PPP loan forgiveness for about 75 or 77,000, I believe. But we still had a good year, and we are still able to make investments along with your help going into this year with new equipment, new TriCasters and things. And so we've really tried to take advantage of the cushion and be very, very strategic and mindful about the investments that we make, both in personnel and equipment, so that we can continue to deliver our services and reach more members of our community in an even more efficient way, right? We're not spending money willy-nilly. We're not just adding headcount like crazy just for the sake of adding headcount. We're actually trying to be very fiscally conservative and doing it the right way. So our revenue is down a little bit year over year, but again, that's driven by franchise fees, but we're learning to do better fundraising, and we continue to look at help from you, with further investments, whether it's ARPA funds, another round of funding there, or other programs so that we can update and modernize our equipment and continue to deliver the services that we're asked to deliver. And so if you all are on the news, the email newsletter for WestfordCAT News, you also notice, or I hope you've noticed, that news coverage, which was a huge issue in prior years, has gotten a lot better. And I know Sarah talked about the clicks and the views that we've been getting have just been trending upwards tremendously. So huge credit to the staff, huge credit to Sarah. Thank you all on the select board for your assist this past year and continued assistance, but we look forward to bigger and better things.
Thank you, Jack. Sarah, would you like to add to Jack and what's been going on at CAT?
A little bit. I won't talk very long, but I do want to give a shout out to Nick Woodbury, who has taken over covering the select board meetings as our veteran Steve Edwards, after 10 years, has stepped away. So he got a great new job, and we're happy for him. I'm glad that Nick has now stepped up his role and is covering the select board meeting and doing a great job at the station. And we have a great new reporter, Ben Domain. I don't know if you've all connected with him or seen his reporting, but he is doing a really great job. We revamped the website last year, added in some Google ads, and now have optimized those. And so we're starting to see some consistent revenue coming in this year. It's starting. So that's a nice little added benefit from the web overhauls. And I think the big news Jack had mentioned about getting to the second round of the Cummings grant process, but really that helped me very much after a strategic planning session where the board got together and, the stakeholders just really talked about, what is our value proposition to the community, and to target, like, who's our target market, and really the students in town have become a real huge focus. So we always have had students from Westford Academy, the Capstone project, Capstone students and interns and volunteers. We also do student tours for Neshoba Tech. They come in, just prior to the pandemic, they were coming in every couple of weeks with a new group of students doing exploratory tours, and they'd end up their week of exploring with a tour of WestfordCAT. We also have hosted students from Innovation Academy Charter School. And so to really capitalize and build on that program, and to show a pathway for the kids that come in for our Lights, Camera, Action kids video, youth video program, we want to, kind of demonstrate that once they're in there, they can, there's room to grow. So when they age out of that program, they can come in as a volunteer, they can come in as a counselor in training, they can get into the high school level and take on what Rachel has been doing the last year, covering sports at Westford Academy. Rachel has covered probably, she's on staff, she's covered probably 40 different games at Westford Academy. All the sports have got at least 1 or 2 recordings, live streaming events. This has been tremendous. Her videos have, just a handful that I counted up, had well over 10,000 views on YouTube. We share those to the competing team station when we have compatible equipment and can share that live stream. So it's been just a really wonderful year of growth with especially the students. And right now this summer in our summer camps, we're offering 6 weeks of summer camps. We added 2 weeks of at the school vacation in April and February, we added camp weeks there too. So we're expanding that kind of paid programming, but I have at least 9 counselors there, from volunteers to paid staff. They're all students, recent grads from the tech, from Westford Academy, and they're amazing. They're doing an amazing job, and it's a wonderful revitalization of the station to have so much activity going on with, and having so many students there. From LaSalle University, I have a student doing an internship. UNH, Quentin has come back for another session with us. We have Neshoba Tech students, our first paid staff on from Neshoba Tech doing a counseling job this year. And I was actually, since Steve stepped away, I was able to bring on a graduate from Neshoba Tech who volunteered for us for many years prior to the pandemic. He's now going to be covering some meetings for us. So it's been great to kind of bring in the students. The focus is on the students and the youth, and making these resources available to them. And I think the Cummings grant really helped me focus our attention there, and our board, the strategic planning session that we had really kind of highlighted where I think we're really where our value is to the community. And it's been great.
Great, thank you. Questions from the board or any comments from the board? Anita?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for this presentation. I think it's always great to hear from you all, especially since we kind of finish up budget season, annual town meeting. It's great to kind of understand like the financials of WestfordCAT too. And I love strategic planning. So, shout out to the one that we're having in September. And it's great that you identified youth, right? And I know that there's just so much energy there. People are really into like exploring the different technology. I think that's a great space. I do have a concern about the trending downward piece of like subscriptions, right? Of like cable subscriptions. And that's something that's been brought up several times, right? Whenever WestfordCAT comes to the board. And I was just curious if you've had any conversations, maybe at that strategic planning retreat or something that just was talking a little bit more about other, financial directions and stuff like that. So
well, sure. One of the things was, to bring on the monetization, right? And to find some other avenues that weren't dependent on the cable franchise fees. So we need to schedule, in the budget, like a 5% loss, just kind of as a, over the last 5 years, we've probably lost $100,000, which is about a 5% loss every year. So I did budget in that loss this year. Actually, we're well over, we're not near that 5% at all. The franchise fees are coming in much higher than we expected. And also we have a marketing arm, a task force, as you will. They are doing auctions and fundraising, and have been able to bring in, last year, $30,000 was raised in memberships and special events that brought in enough to cover that gap and more. Also any grants and things like that, we're really beefing up our efforts in that respect, as Jack had mentioned. The And I have been interviewing and hope to secure a person to do some outreach and some part-time fundraising for us as a specific job, because we do need to really focus on that. It is a big priority. So you're right.
And, and to add to that, Nita, what we've been doing is as we add headcount strategically and upgrade equipment, is we're trying to build our capacity and get the various aspects of WestfordCAT working really well. Because in the beginning, especially during the height of the pandemic, we didn't really have staff in. I mean, granted, there wasn't a lot going on, but every time we're looking to bring somebody on, we're looking really to how do we add capacity in that area, and then also add capacity to the organization overall. And so one of the ways we've been trying to address the gradual reduction of revenue is to learn how to be better fundraisers, right? And grant writers and things. And you'd be surprised at how many other CAT stations in surrounding towns don't have to do that, but we do. Now, we're not going to replace $500,000 in annual revenue in a blink, but the financial cushion gives us time to learn how to do it effectively. And Sarah and her team have done really well. But during the process, as we learn that, we don't want to let the news slide again. We don't want to let youth programs slide again. The podcast room is just taken off. Everybody has a podcast, it seems. So it's going really well. And so we want to make sure that those areas can continue to thrive while we're acquiring these new other skills that as an organization, we never really had before.
Other questions from the board? Well, I don't see any. Jack and Sarah, thank you so much for being with us tonight and for your report. As Anita said, we do look forward to hearing from you annually, and we continue to be appreciative of everything that CAT does and all of its contributions that it makes to our town. So thank you all, and to your team and to your board.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we are at our 7:40 p.m. item, which is a presentation of the town debt service analysis, including excluded and non-excluded debt and the impact of proposed large capital projects. So Jody, Dan O'Donnell, and Christine Collins, it's all yours, folks.
Okay, thank you. So all three of us are going to present this. I'm going to start, and then Christine and then Dan will take over. So why we're here is that basically we have three large capital projects on the horizon, two that will be at the special town meeting, which is 51 Main, and also the JV Fletcher Library expansion. And then the Blanchard Roof project will be at the annual town meeting. And I've heard a few people say, how are we going to afford all this if the town approves it? So we want to show you that tonight. And we also plan to have this presentation at the strategic planning retreat and also at town meeting. So I think Mike is going to handle this for me. I think, Mike, and you can go to the next slide. And so basically, I mentioned the first couple points. I think we're going to show you how this debt can be handled for the town and what the impact is to the median household. And also, I want to just mention that we have a figure in here for the school administration offices, but we have no idea what that's going to be. It could be that that is within the limit, not excluded, but we put in a placeholder just for illustration purposes. So just talking high level, as you know, because you created it, we have a budget policy direction that you create each year with help from the finance committee. And in your direction, it says that we should have 7 to 10% of the operating budget as debt. And also that is what's recommended by our bond rating agencies. Of course, we're a AAA, which we're very proud of, by Standard & Poor's. But that is what they recommend too, because that shows a commitment to maintaining our infrastructure and also results in operating budget stability, excuse me. So right now we're at a 6.76% in our current budget, but we're also going to be paying off the highway garage, Miller, Crisafulli, and Stony Brook schools this year. And without any new debt authorized, our projected debt for next year will be at 4.75%. So you can see that's significantly under what your direction is and what our bond rating agencies suggest. So we do need to continually invest in our infrastructure. And we feel, and I think Christine has done a fantastic job, but the time to take on new debt is when debt is paid, because then that avoids dips and spikes in our tax rate. And so with Christine's expertise, we've also had the ability to like smooth out when we borrow or when we bond so that it avoids any up and down spikes on our tax rate. So I also just want to mention, I know all of you know this, but the public, may not, but excluded debt is bonds that are issued outside of the limits of Prop 2.5. The annual payments are added to the tax levy. We typically only use this for large projects. And by excluding debt for large projects, we've maintained our infrastructure without creating budget instability. So some examples would be the Fletcher Fire Station that we just built, the Cameron Senior Center renovations, the highway garage, and also the construction of the schools I just mentioned. Non-excluded debt is debt that we pay for within the operating budget and within Prop 2.5. And so those payments have to be made within the levy limit. Typically, those projects are for smaller capital purchases. Some would be annual roads, sidewalk improvements, communications equipment, trucks, vehicles. However, I want to remind you that we did do a very large one at over $8 million for the Oak Hill Plain Road and Moore Ave project that we are just completing at this point. So I'm going to turn this over to our expert tax collector treasurer, Christine, who will walk us through some of the history.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this slide is demonstrating what our debt has looked like as a percent of our budget over the last, looking back 10 years. So you can see that in FY12, we were at 9.77%. This number has been declining, and in FY19, we were able to add the fire station, which was a substantial project that helped to kind of stabilize it. It had been declining and declining. And then in 19, we brought in the fire station. That kind of helped it not to slip too fast anymore. The other kind of interesting thing that you can see on this slide, if you look at the top line that says excluded debt, and you can see it going from 6.5 million to 4.5 million, the non-excluded debt on the next line went from 869 to 1.5 million. So where the excluded debt totals have been declining steadily, the non-excluded debt, the debt within the budget, has been increasing. Okay, next slide. So this is a summary of all of our debt. And again, now we're looking ahead. So if we were to do no new projects, we would be looking at our FY23, like Jody said, is when all of the schools are going to be paid off. Then FY24, we would be dropping down to 4.75, and it would continue to go down and down, which is, not going to show stability to our bond rating agencies. Also, it just is not the way we want to approach our long-term planning for infrastructure needs, because what happens is the reason that the rating agencies do not like to see that is because it means that there's a payday coming. There's going to be a big spike at some point in the future if you don't take care of your infrastructure on a strategic basis. So that's what that's about. Next slide. So now this is a picture of the excluded debt. Looking back a little bit historically, just back to that 2012, excluded debt was 4.22% of our operating budget, well, the net excluded debt, and the excluded debt before offsets was 7%. For the school projects, we enjoyed some offsets because of the way that the legislation used to be, where you would draw down off of MSBA funding throughout the life of the loan. Now it gets taken off the top, so we won't have offsets like this in the future unless they change the law again. So the total of our excluded debt as a percent of budget was 7%. When we look at 2022, excluded debt is down to 3.67, and 23, 3.38. When those schools and everything gets paid off, we're down to 1.69% of budget. So this is a perfect time for us to start looking at some of these larger projects for potential debt exclusion.
So can I just jump in here, Christine, for a second? So just so you all understand, in the total excluded debt, you can see that we have added in the 51 Main building, the J.V. Fletcher Library, the Blanchard Middle School roof, and we put in a $5 million placeholder for school administration offices. I want to remind the board that when we built offices in Millennium back a little over 10 years ago, we actually only spent $95,000 to retrofit those classrooms to make them into offices. So that is a robust figure. And as I said, it might not have to be an excluded project. And then we have a contingency. So with all of these projects that are on the docket for the future, you can see that the town can very easily afford to approve all these and fund them without any tax spikes. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's it for me. Now Dan was going to pick up from here.
All right, I'm going to start off with the graph here because I like graphs. So here is the excluded debt history going back from FY12 to FY29. It sort of recaps what Christine had said, but just in a more visual manner. What I like about this is the orange section up top. That's actually the Fletcher Fire Station. You can see how in the beginning years we have smaller payments there, and then once we get to FY24, after the schools and the highway garage are paid off, you can see those amounts have increased. So that's our way of sort of working into debt to sort of smooth the tax rate for the future years. And we can do that with the new debt once it's approved. So you can see the additional projects coming on in starting at FY24 and building up over the next couple of years and sort of replenishing that excluded debt level. Next page, Mike. All right, and the question we always get is how much is this going to cost the average taxpayer? So in FY22, the median assessed home was $551,000. In FY22 down here, we can see that the total cost of excluded debt on a house that was assessed at $551,000 was just under $302. As you can see in the outlying years, as these projects are layered in, we're not quite getting back to that $302 mark. Again, we can layer these in and smooth out the tax rate, but even adding on all these projects, the amount the average taxpayer is going to expect to pay should still be less than it was in FY22. And part of that reason is that our tax base grows each year at about a 3% clip. So those debt payments are spread over a wider base. And so, as we borrow this debt, the payments should go down in future years. Next slide, Mike. All right, and here's our just a summary of the overall debt with the proposed projects that were mentioned before. And even if we do approve all these projects, our percentage of operating budget or debt as compared to the operating budget will fall to 5.32% in FY24. That should be our low year as we're trying to get these buildings built. And it just sort of shows that, to maintain that 7 to 10% goal, we do have to keep authorizing excluded debt as, we have limited capacity within the budget to keep authorizing not excluded debt. We have a little bit each year that we usually authorize. So, we do have to start replenishing that excluded debt.
So back to me, and this is a little off topic, but One of the things we did mention was that non-excluded debt has steadily grown, and that's been on purpose because obviously our budget has grown and we want to continue to carve out a piece of our budget for capital, and that's what we've done. But we're tight for non-excluded debt because we've continued to do that. Every year, the town meeting authorizes new projects, and one of the projects that was authorized at our last town meeting, and I apologize, this date's off. We did correct it today, but some reason it's not in here. But so the town meeting authorized $1.040 million to make our public safety radio system fully digital. That estimated bond payment is for 10 years is $126,880 a year. If the board decides to use ARPA funds to fund a project such as this, that will actually free up $126,880 in operating funds for the next 10 years. And that money could be used to fund some of the positions that you've also supported during the whole ARPA process. So it is something that would make a big impact on future budgets. And as you get additional funds, we would like you to consider funding already authorized debt within the limit through an ARPA funding to free up those funds to support the projects and employees that you have approved. So that's the end of our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions and also take suggestions as we move forward to the strategic planning retreat and town meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jody, Dan, and Christine, for putting this together, and also putting it together in a way that I think is understandable, not just for those of us who follow this more closely than others, but also for the general public. So we appreciate your hard work and putting this together. So are there questions or comments from the board? John? You're muted, John.
Okay, talking about this 7% thing and the way the bond agencies or the rating agencies consider that, if we consistently stayed around 6%, do you have any feel for any kind of impact that might have on our rating? And then I have one other comment. I think we need to be thinking about some of these projects that have just come off. They're going to be requiring some maintenance one of these days, so they may be back on. But you have any sense of what that would do to our bond rating or our borrowing rating?
So what I would say, John, and yeah, Christine, weigh in too, but we have the highest bond rating right now. So they obviously feel like we are doing an excellent job, but your financial people, which include me, Dan and Christine, are advising you that it is time to consider issuing new debt to maintain the infrastructure of the town. So it could have an impact in the future if we don't continue to sustain our infrastructure. But Christine, maybe you have more to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's one of many, many factors that make up our AAA rating. Probably if we were at 6% and a statement like what you just made, that we're leaving room for some of the maintenance that we're expecting to be needed for these buildings that are now 20 years old, they would appreciate that. It's got to be part of the plan, I guess, is the biggest, most important thing. If we went down to 4 or 5% for any length of time, that could actually maybe start to move the needle a little bit. But I think if we were in the 6s and had a plan for how we're going to provide for all of this maintenance that will be coming up on these buildings, that would prove that, we are looking at it. We're not just waiting for some disastrous thing to happen that we're going to have to react to. That's their biggest thing, is they want us to be managing the money, managing the costs of these big projects. And that's what we do a good job at. So that's why they like us.
Just one other comment. Yeah, I guess my concern was that we would be trying real hard to get up to the 7%. And although we have that as a goal, I think maintaining our infrastructure and doing the things that we've been doing, that got to be 6.75% fine, 6.5% fine. And I just want to make sure our priority You know, we would be just take care of our infrastructure and not actively try to get to 7%.
Mhm.
Makes sense. Scott?
Yeah, two things. One, I think we're phrasing this badly, that we want to be at 7% debt. No, it's that to keep your capital assets intact, you need to be around 7%. And so what we're doing is we're planning, a spending level commensurate with historical behavior to maintain the capital stock, not try to hit some debt number, which is, I think, kind of the other way around of looking at it. But the reason why I wanted to ask a question is, as we noted earlier on, everyone's asking me, at least, how are we going to pay for these buildings? So this is a great answer to that question. Will this be on our website? Will this be someplace where we can direct people with questions to go see it? Where will that be?
So we will, once we tweak this after tonight, and we're happy to have more suggestions, you can email us too, but we will put it on the strategic planning retreat site, and we do plan to have it there displayed to speak to. And then, of course, at the special town meeting, we plan to speak to it briefly too.
Okay. Anita?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Andrea's comment about how it was really helpful and really digestible and easy to understand. And it was really organized. And I was wondering if you wanted to video like that segment or that presentation, so then you can share it online. So it's not just people who are going to special town meeting or going to the retreat, because things can be shared so much more easily online too. It'd be a great way to share.
I think that's a great idea, Anita, and to get it up, and we can also engage with WestfordCAT to help us out to do that as well. I think that's a terrific idea. So yeah, you guys can do a road show. All right, any other questions or comments? I'm not seeing any. Thank you to the three of you. Really appreciate all the work that's gone into this. Yeah, if you want to tweak it and get it up on our, on the website as soon as possible, and then think about a road show.
Thank you, and thank you, Dan and Christine.
Okay, we're at our 8:05 p.m. item, which is a continuation of our discussion about ARPA funding requests to determine any the next allocations that we may be considering and making. I know it's been a while since we've talked about ARPA. We have requests left over from sort of, I'll call it the first round, just basically because those were requests that came in when we got our first round of funding. And then we have new requests also that have since come in. So I think let's start with, just a review, as we usually do, of the projects that have been approved, the funding spent, status, funding available, just give us a brief picture of where we are.
Sure. So last year we started the ARPA funding cycle with just over $3.7 million. From September to June 14th of this year, the select board had appropriated $3,560,000 and change, leaving a current balance of $148,385 as of June 30th. On July 8th, we did receive the first portion of the ARPA funding, which is meant for municipalities, or NEUs is what the terminology is from the Treasury. So we received the just under 1.28 million, bringing our balance to over $1.4 million. We did reach out to the recipients of the ARPA money from last year to see what the status was on those projects. And the schools did complete 3 of their projects, as you can see right here, and they're closing out roughly just over $5,000. So what we have available at this moment is $1,433,000. The second payment for the county should be coming in sometime in August. Last year we received it on August 16th, so I'm guessing it will come in some sort of range like that, but we just haven't heard a particular date at this point.
Okay. Thanks. And then I guess now we're going to review new requests for funding that we have received. Just so folks know, and I know that there are folks out here who want to make a presentation about their new funding requests. Understand that the select board has those new funding requests and we have looked at them. So while you're perfectly welcome to comment on them, please keep them brief and succinct, okay? I guess, I don't know, Jody, are you going to run through them or is Dan running through them? Who's running through them?
Yeah, I'll run through them. Mike, are you able to pull up the sheet with, yeah, there we go, and make it bigger so people can read it? The yellow block is probably the column, a little bigger. There you go. Maybe you could even try to center it a little bit. Not to be too picky.
I was going to say, yeah.
Maybe a little bit bigger there too, Mike. I'm sorry. Just want people to be able to read it. Okay, and then try to, yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these quickly and then I think you can obviously determine how you want to handle it. So these are the new requests. So the Commission on Disabilities have asked for $20,000 to have captioning done for selected meetings. And you can read up there the meetings they're proposing. There is the Town and School Safety Task Force has charged us with looking at cameras in schools, and we are still working on that. So we do not have a dollar amount on Project 2, and Project 3 is additional town and school emergency training, and we're still working on that. So there's no funding request yet. This is a new request from, it says me, and this is for our electric vehicle charging stations. As you know, we've added several and we're not getting a lot of revenue yet. So this is to create an account of, I think they're asking for 20,000 so we could have 4,500 a year to help pay for the usage of this equipment and until our revenue stream grows. The next one, number 5, is electronic vote tabulators. You did fund $12,865, but the moderator thinks we should have another 100 on hand. So she's asking for 2,110 to purchase another 100.
Jody, can I just interrupt you with a question with
Sure.
that? If we decide to order the additional 100 clickers, what's the lead time?
I'm not sure, but based on if the moderator is not online, I think we probably should get moving on it.
Yeah.
But I would think we would have time to get them for town meeting if you decide tonight.
Okay. She's not online, but.
Okay, but it didn't take that long last time. So, but a decision sooner versus later is better.
Okay.
So
Thank
number
you.
6 is a new request too. This is the town hall staff. They're asking for 25,000 to help improve digitizing our files. And I think it's through hiring an outside contractor to help us get our files digitized. Number 7 is a phone system upgrade. And we did make a phone system upgrade. This is Mike Wells. He's looking for 67,000. Unfortunately, when we planned this, I believe that there weren't laws in place that just changed, and we need additional modules and services. We can go to capital if you do not approve this and town meeting, but that is a request. So number 8 is green, and the reason it's in green is because it's money that you would save us for the budget. So this is the one I mentioned in the last slide of the debt presentation. This has already been approved by town meeting, but if you decide to fund this project, you will save us $126,880 in our annual budget, which will help us pay for some of the things that you have approved that have annual costs. Number 9 is diesel fuel. You did support the town diesel request. It's actually, I believe is it just diesel? It's gas too for the schools, Dan?
Yeah, it's for the school bus contract,
All right.
the additional fee on top of that.
So they're asking for 122,483 to supplement if necessary for diesel fuel. Number 10 is the schools again, and it's to purchase materials to promote equitable learning, decodable text. And I'm not going to try to explain that, but that's $14,000 that they are requesting to assist. Then we have Public Works. This is a new one about 500,000, and this is related to PFAS. And it's just kind of a placeholder, but maybe letting the select board know that we don't know where this is going, and we may have costs associated with town water or even private wells with PFAS. So it's kind of putting that on your radar that we may have needs in the future. Number 12 is green again, because this saves us money in the town budget. This is the construction of Plain Road Phase 1. This was approved at town meeting. The bond will cost us $47,570 a year. If you fund this, that puts that money back in the operating budget for other purposes. Project number 13 is from the Health Department and the COA, and they are asking for employee training in the tune of $4,500 for hoarding cases, to train employees how to deal with hoarding cases. Number 14 is also by the Council on Aging. It's for rental, mortgage, and utility assistance. They're looking for $30,000 to help those who have financial hardship. Number 15 is also the COA, and they're looking for $20,000. And that's for fiscal year 24. So the first request I just mentioned would be for fiscal year 23, and this is for fiscal year 24 rental assistance. Number 16 is a WestfordCAT, and they have put in several requests. This is for 2014 to do an audio snake and sound mixer for meetings in the Millennium. And number 17, they are asking for $8,834 for network attached storage device to help their productions at different locations. Number 18, they've asked for upgrades for school sports coverage for $1,316. And that's a complicated explanation there of what that's for. Number 19 is the Economic Development Committee have requested $48,000 to hire a part-time employee to assist their committee. And number 20 is by the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee. They're asking for $50,000 for design development of a website for residents and businesses. And number 21 is from Clean Energy. They're asking for $40,000 for consulting help with development of net zero building standards. And that is it on the new requests. There are requests listed after that that you have not talked about yet, but those are all the new requests. I mean, you may have mentioned the other ones, but you haven't had any presentations.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so first let me ask from the board. Well, I guess let me first ask Jody, is there any, I mean, we do have now a little over $1.4 million, right, Dan?
That's correct.
Yeah. See, I pay attention. So I guess let me ask Jody, is there anything of these new requests, or even the ones that are pending that we haven't discussed, that you and town hall staff would say are priorities and that we should really take a look at them sooner rather than later?
I'm taking a quick look. I don't think, well, so the telephone system is somewhat of a priority, though if you don't approve that, we can go to capital. I'm not aware of anything that there's going to be a dire circumstance if you don't approve right away. Dan, are you aware of anything?
I was just thinking the clickers would be nice to have.
Oh, good,
sooner than
yeah, the
later.
clickers, right, we
Yeah,
mentioned that.
that's the one that has really stood out to me tonight is that is the clickers, so that, you know, we do make sure that we have them on board for special town meeting. Scott?
Actually, I was going to mention clickers too, because it'd be really embarrassing to have a popular town meeting with questions about structures, not be able to take a vote. So that was my top priority. I guess my other question would be, I don't know if Sarah or Jacka are still on, but
Sarah's still on because she has her hand up, so go ahead.
okay, because I was going to say, well, you know, I just asked the question, you know, part of that funding they're asking about is for school sports, and school sports start quite soon. So that was a pretty small dollar number if that was, you know, needed to cover the school sports. Everyone might want to take that one up too.
That, and I guess if there's an issue with sound and whatever in the millennial and school committee meetings, I assume are going to start again in September. That one might also be one we want to take as well. Anita.
Yeah, another one that stood out to me was the 911 module needs to kind of stay on top of whatever changing regulations are happening. And even I mean, I don't know if it needs to be tonight, but relatively soon, I would support the digitizing the files, just because I know that takes up a lot of space. And as we're planning 51 Main, I'm assuming, you know, that goes well according to plan, then that could also help with some of the planning of how to use that space in that building.
Okay, great. In answer, Sarah Fletcher wrote, she was just going to say, oh, wait a minute. That was back beforehand. She was going to say, when I was saying that you could, when I was talking about recording the presentation for debt, she said to Jody, she said, just, you know, contact her, come to the studio and they can do that. Okay. All right. So now Sarah has her hand up. So and I know she's going to answer the question. So Jody and Anita, before I get back to you, let me go to Sarah.
I don't know if I'm on or not. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I would say that, you know, the Millennium School meeting room really does need an upgrade on the audio. It's about $2,000 for the sound mixer and the audio snake. So if that was a if that could be done quicker, that would be great. And then the school sports, where we do have a lot of students engaged now, I'd like to just really keep them engaged with the headsets and all. It's another low cost point, but it would be great to have that additional equipment to for the students, and they'll be used in other locations as well. And then the whole upgrade to the data storage and the processing, you know, we have a little time on that, but again, that's something that as these hybrid meetings and more and more virtual meetings, we're getting kind of our storage capacity is filling up quickly. So an expansion of our system is to really future-proof us as we take on more and more of these meetings.
Thank you. Anita, I guess, did you have a follow-up question, Anita? Okay.
Or just a follow-up comment, I would also support the diesel gas needs for the school buses.
Yeah, we want our buses to run.
We need them to get to school.
We need them to get the kids to school. Okay, Jody, and then I see Mike, you have your hand up, so I'll get you next. Jody, you're muted.
Sorry. While we were talking, Mike reminded me that we're actually under a non-compliance order for the state on the 911 system. So he's going to speak to that if you'll allow him.
Absolutely. Mike.
Yeah, so we were unfortunate enough to have a random test by the state of our 911 system that we were introducing. And although it's better than the system we had before, it doesn't meet the current regulations. So we do have to do something about it.
Well, I think we should bring our 911 system up to state standards. That certainly makes sense. Scott.
This is a question on the school bus thing, because as I understood it, maybe I was wrong. We may need it, but it was not clear that we did need it. So, Judy, can you clarify if it's a contractual issue, we have to pay a surcharge, or if it's something that we're looking at that might pop up, we could wait 2 weeks and see what the exposure is?
I would prefer not to be the person to speak to that. Dan can answer that.
So I did speak with Pat Lenhart before she left, and she did put together an analysis back in, I think, April or May. D-Bus did finally start charging surcharge. However, where it's very early in the budget cycle for the schools, I don't know if this is the most urgent to allocate right away. Like with the town where you allocate $50,000 for the departments to use for gasoline in the beginning parts. I mean, that seemed like a useful idea too, to kind of, wait and see how gas prices go in the future.
Yeah, that was my thought, that maybe we make some sort of down payment on that, because we know that there will be a problem, but not the full amount. We know what the exposure is.
That makes sense. All right, so what I'm hearing from the board, and please jump in and tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm missing something, okay, is that people are interested in funding the 911 request to bring us into state compliance. The clickers, WestfordCAT, at least for the school sports and the millennial building. I don't know if we want to do the others that Sarah mentioned. A down payment on diesel gas, and starting to digitize. Anita brought up starting to digitize our files. Have I missed anything? And is there anything anyone wants to add to that? Scott.
Well, since I assisted the down payment, I mean, Dan, is 25,000 a reasonable down payment for the bus diesel?
How much did they request initially? I forget already.
122.
Is that for the year? Or is
that was for the year for the analysis. So, it's sort of in line. The town requested just under 200,000, so it sort of lines up with.
The town said to fund for, I think, for 1 quarter. So, what's 25% of 129? You're probably better at math than I am, but whatever that's 30,000, I guess.
Somewhere around 30,000.
Yeah.
So that was my thought there, and just give an amount to it. And then, if we think about what ARPA money is meant for, it's meant really to recover from pandemic. And why are all of our meetings remote? Because of pandemic. So my inclination is for, again, pretty small dollars, give WestfordCAT their storage.
Okay. Other comments from the board or questions?
Sounds like a good list to me.
Let me just make sure. Hang on a minute. Okay, let me make sure there are any other comments or questions from the audience. Joan Bennett and Beth Perkins and Jennifer Claro all have their hands up. So let's take them in order, starting with Joan Bennett, and then Beth, and then Jennifer.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. Just need to know, the Economic Development Committee has worked on a proposal for the ARPA funds like so many other people. We did submit a proposal. Now, as far as understanding process, I am told that you read all of this in preparation for your meetings. At some point, do we get to address what your questions are about the proposal we submitted?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, if folks have questions, yes, you would definitely be able to address them.
Okay, well, can I speak or?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you can speak briefly, Joan, okay?
Oh, no, Jody's already said, I mean, I think I've used one of my 5 minutes.
No, that's okay.
Okay, well, I mean, we did submit the proposal and we felt it was a very prudent proposal and that there would be a return on this money. And we wanted to use our time to answer questions so you fully understand how strongly we feel about getting an economic development person. And if you noticed, it's part-time, 18 hours, non-benefited. We have kept this as sleek and as low cost as we can. So when you read the proposal, what we thought the benefits would far outweigh that fee. Did any of you have questions?
Oops, Anita just put, I'm not seeing anybody with their hands up, Joan, so I don't think that anybody has questions. I think honestly, we're just sort of, we're being cautious right now until we get the rest of the funding in.
Yeah, I understand. Yes.
Which hopefully will be hopefully by our next meeting in August, we'll have the rest of the funding in. And so then we can move forward with proposals that are equally, I know. I don't want to say that your proposal is any less important than anything else, just not, something that requires immediate attention.
Okay. And please, if anyone has questions, email me because we've got Dave Flanagan and Cheryl Serpy online. And thank you for being with us tonight, Dave and Cheryl, just to answer any questions. So we thought we were clear in our proposal, but anything, please. And thank you for your consideration.
And thank you, Joan and Cheryl and Dave. I mean, I did read your proposal and certainly it's quite clear that you've put a lot of time and effort and thought into it. So,
yes, we did.
So,
thanks, Andrea.
Much appreciated. Okay, Beth.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I guess I'm in a similar situation to Joan in that I'm not saying that the request that the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee have before us tonight fall into the same category as updating our 911 system, but I would like to answer any questions that people would have about the proposal we put forth. And I think especially with the whole landscape as far as climate goes changing before us, where we have these huge spending programs that the federal government has lined up and the state has lined up. We've talked about getting a website together with information that people in town, residents, businesses, and people in town government can use to figure out how to get the best deals on rebates and where all of these incentive programs are, where the grants are. And so we put in a request for a website to provide information to the town and for consulting help to help the town figure out how to make our buildings sustainable and get some consulting help with that. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that. And, we feel like this is very important to get us to the next step within clean energy and sustainability.
Okay, well, a couple of folks do have their hands up. So Anita?
Yep. Thanks, Beth. I had a question about the website, and I kind of imagined, or kind of as you were just saying, you're going to be referencing or referring to other sources. And is that something you could actually do on our current town website, just on a different web page? Because you're not creating a resource, right? You're like linking to other ones. Is that something that you can't do on our current site?
Well, thank you very much, Anita, for asking that question, because I think it's important. I've been in web development for much of my career, and I think it's important to recognize that the platform that you use is only one piece of a website project. And I think that we may find that the platform that we have in the town the website that we use for our town website will be the perfect platform. But that is only one part of a website development project. I would say a good 2/3 of a website development project. So building this single source of information on climate, on incentives for businesses, for residents, municipality. A huge part of that is figuring out where is the best information? What is the current information? How can we display it best to the people in town? And in terms of the project, that would be 2/3 of the effort would be figuring out how to design how this information is going to be displayed, where the information can be sourced, how it can be customized for Westford, and then loading it into the actual platform is important, but it's just one piece. So I think one of the great things about having a sustainability coordinator now here in Westford is we have someone who could kind of manage an effort to determine how to pull all this information together. But if we would ask her to do it or to ask the volunteers in town, like the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee to, develop all this content, that, would drown us. So I think that's why we're looking for this funding, is to have someone help us really with the figuring out what information we want displayed and how we want it displayed. And then I picture it would be loaded into our existing infrastructure in Westford.
Does that answer your question, or do you have a follow-up, Anita? You were looking a little.
Yeah, I guess I have a couple of thoughts. I think that's really helpful, to explain it. Beth, I know you have a lot of experience in developing and designing websites, but I think about the school website, and they have a web page on all of the mental health resources that are available to schools. So I think it's a very robust page, and I think it looks very different from the rest of the town website. I'd be curious to know what their design process was and what the cost of it. And also, I guess my other question is, maybe I need to see the job description of the sustainability coordinator position, and just wondering, calling all of this information as part of that within that role. And is any of this responsibility also going to be shared with the other town of which we share the sustainability coordinator position with? So those are my questions.
Yeah, and I think we could absolutely look at exchanging information with Carlisle. What I think I would like to make clear is that in Westford, we have gotten a very good deal on our efforts to develop this climate roadmap and what we have done so far. All of the other towns that I've worked with to try and figure out what are they doing, how can we match what's happening in other towns like Acton and Concord and Westboro, all of them hired consultants, $100,000 to $200,000 worth of consultants to do their climate roadmaps and to provide the information they have on their websites. When I talked to Concord about their website and how they've pulled all this information together in Acton, that is all being done with additional funding beyond volunteer and, sustainability coordinator. So I feel like because our sustainability coordinator is shared with Carlisle, and therefore we're looking at 20 hours of time at the most per week, for them to be taking on what would be a substantial job of creating this source of information would end up taking more time than is available. I know Sue feels, I know she couldn't be here tonight because she's actually
she's at Carlisle's meeting.
She's in Carlisle tonight.
Yes, we know. She let us know that, Beth.
Okay.
Okay. Jody?
Yes, thank you. So I didn't know, Beth, whether if other towns are doing this and you think they are good models, I think there is a lot that we could do within the town staff to kind of follow that lead and not recreate the wheel from the start. So we do have a lot of talent in our technology department. We're actually in the process of building a website for our community wellness coordinator now, and she's working closely with them. So I'm just going to suggest that in the meantime, if there's towns that you like what they've done, you need to share that with us and we can easily start setting that up for you. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is, and I've talked to Mike Wells about doing this, and he has offered to help loading information into the website. I think a big part of it is going out, looking at the other websites, looking at the new information for the new programs that are being introduced, and figuring out how to display it so that it can be very easy for people in town to use. And I think to do that, you really, I was thinking if I were to fill this position, I would fill it with somebody who also had climate and who knew how to display information about electric heating and cooling and electric vehicles, and had some understanding in those areas.
So Beth, I would tell you that Eric, who I have assigned to work with your committee and is supervising Sue Thomas, he knows about a lot of those things you just mentioned, and he is very tech savvy. So I'm just saying, I think we do have resources that could help get going with this thing right now that have not been tapped, and I'm happy to help organize that.
Okay, so I think, you know, Beth, you know, certainly we've got your request, obviously. We're going to give it full consideration. It sounds like, you know, there might be some things that the town can start to do now to start bringing up this website. But certainly, you know, we will keep it, you know, keep it on the agenda. And, you know, I think a couple of things, maybe see what the town can do to help, see how this you know, where Sue stands with this, what help she can, you know, what capacity she has, because I think you're right, there's only so much capacity that she does have as we move forward with this. And then, you know, have a better understanding of what we can do to help you folks to get a really robust website up and running.
Thank you.
All right. And lastly, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to mention, you know, our COA was very fortunate to be able to request funds for rent, mortgage, and utility assistance in the first ARPA request round. And part of that request, we were able to receive half of the allocation. And we were told that we could come back to the select board, you know, if we use those funds and perhaps make an appeal for the second allocation. And that is why I'm here tonight, because we have utilized the first allocation. We no longer have, we have $1,000 left, and we're currently waiting on a resident to complete turning in her documentation, but we do not have any more rent or mortgage or utility assistance after that $1,000 allocation is used. And there's so many people that are struggling in town financially, and I cannot imagine what it would be like at this point if we don't have those funds. And so I just wanted to just stress my concern for the residents that are struggling in town and not to have any funds for this next year.
Thank you, Jennifer. Scott?
I guess my question, Jennifer, is do you need the money like if tonight we want to fund immediate needs until we get that second, tranche of money. So are you saying that you need the money like now to fund needs, or can it wait again till we get the second round of money?
We need the funds now. We only have $1,000, and those funds are earmarked for someone. We're just waiting on the last pieces of documentation. And once that documentation's in, we don't have any more funds to help through ARPA for the utility, rent, or mortgage assistance. I'm not sure when you will be hearing requests again for ARPA, but I just, want to make it known that we don't have the funds after we use this last $1,000 allocation.
And Dan, was the request for another 30,000? Was that it?
It was, yep.
Okay.
I'd be inclined to add it in there.
Yeah. Anita?
Yeah, I would support that too. And I guess I had one question for Ray Dick, who was on for a little bit, but maybe she had to jump off. But just for the tobacco requests that were listed as high priority, I just wanted to see, is there an update? I know they're going to shift around responsibilities a little bit between positions, and if there's an update for a later time, we can review it then.
Jody?
Yeah, unfortunately, Ray had to leave the meeting, so she had an emergency, but we can certainly put that on the next time.
Okay.
And Andrea, if I could just suggest that if we're ready for a vote, I'd like to make it by project number, because that's how we've done it all along.
Right.
And so I can tell you the project numbers on the ones you've mentioned if you want, or we can pull up the spreadsheet again, but that makes it easy for us.
Sure, we can do it that way, but just before we do that, assuming that we fund, I don't know the numbers, but assuming we fund 9/11, the clickers, WestfordCAT, digitizing files, 30K in diesel fuel, and the $30,000 that Jennifer has requested. How much are we spending tonight, Dan?
See, I also had the 67,000 for the 911 in there as well.
Yeah, that's what I said that first.
Yeah, that one, okay.
But you also mentioned WCAT Millennium.
Yeah, I did say WCAT.
Yeah.
Okay, so
There's like three WCATs, though, right? There's Millennium,
yeah,
Right.
schools, then there's server.
All three WCATs.
could I
So-
read them by project number just so we're crystal clear?
Sure. Can we get them up again though? So because if you just tell me a number, I don't know.
No,
what
I
that means.
wasn't. I was going to tell you what the project was, but yeah, we could put it up. Okay,
Thank you.
so correct me if I'm wrong, but
We will.
What I will say is number 5 is the electronic voting tabulators.
Right.
Number 6 is digitizing town archives. Number 7 is phone system upgrades to comply with 911. Number 9 is 30,000 towards diesel fuel supplement. Number 14 is 30,000 for rental, mortgage, and utility assistance. Number 16 is WCAT Millennium School Meeting Room Equipment upgrades. And number 18 is WCAT upgrades for school sports coverage. That's what I have as your
I think we
priority.
also talked about, and Sarah talked to the need for the network video production storage upgrades, which was 17.
Okay, so I'll add that one too. Okay, that's what I had in my notes that you were interested in.
Okay, that's what I have as well.
Okay.
So Dan, how much are we spending tonight?
The total of all those is 166,274.
Oh, I think we can do that, guys. We have 1.4. I think we can spend 166,000 tonight. All right. With that, is there Is there a motion to approve the projects as I should have written the numbers down and I didn't. I'm sorry.
I make the motion we approve the projects as outlined by Jody by number, or as enumerated by Jody.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, Anita,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you all very much. We will continue to discuss opera and keep everybody posted and let everybody know when it's back on our agenda. Okay, we are at our 9:05 p.m. item, which is old and new business. We have a request from the town clerk to delegate the authority under Mass General Law, Chapter 192, Section 72 of the Acts of 2022 to determine a sufficient number of police officers for each polling place at every election. Patty, you want to tell us what this is about?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, good. This is pertains to the new vote by mail that was just approved by the legislature under Mass General Law, Chapter 192, Section 72 of the Acts of 2022. And basically, it's what we do now, but they would like the select board, the law says to have the select board to determine the sufficient amount of police officers for each polling place at each election. And I'm asking, and most towns are all doing this, that you authorize the police chief to make that determination, because frankly, I think that he probably knows best.
I don't think I disagree with you about that, okay?
Okay.
But are there any questions or comments from the board? John?
Wouldn't you think that if he made that determination that he would forward it to the select board just for the stamp of approval?
Yes.
It's still our responsibility. So, okay, I think he's not going to do it. And we're going to be in the dark. We need to know it because it has some financial implications too, does it not?
Yes.
Okay.
So can we agree to delegate it to our chief of police with him bringing it back for our approval? Does that make sense to folks?
I mean, he's been doing it for quite a long time. I think he knows what he needs for staffing, so
I know.
I would trust that. So yeah, but John's right. It is our responsibility,
right,
both to have the staffing and pay for it. So yeah, so we can back us be good. So I support.
Right. So is there a motion?
Well,
wait,
can I just
no,
say, I'm not sure you're delegating it if you're asking him to bring it to you to approve. So if that's what you want, I don't think you need to take a vote, and that's how it would be handled anyway. But I don't know how you're delegating the authority if you're asking him to tell you how many he's going to put there. I mean, that's what would happen anyway without delegating the authority. So I'm not sure you're voting on anything.
Well, maybe it would be to he to do it, but he to advise us.
Inform us. Just let us know.
Yeah.
Whatever your pleasure is, I'm just saying if you're delegating authority, but asking him to report to you so you can decide, that's not delegating authority. So I don't think you need to take any vote, and I'm happy to do whatever you want to do. So
well,
just wanted to mention that.
From my perspective, I'm not qualified to make a decision as to, what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate in terms of how many police officers should be at a polling place. So I don't want that. I don't want to be in a position to make that decision because I don't think I'm qualified. I think our chief of police is qualified. If the concern is that we just want to know, then I think
I'll back off of that. That's I think Jody's right. I think If we're going to delegate, we delegate. If not,
Okay, so is there a motion, Patty?
I was just going to further what Jody said, and thank you for saying it, Jody, but the chief, whether it be Mark Chambers now or Tom McEnany, always talks to the town clerk about how big he expects the election to be. He usually has more than enough, and he just
Okay.
handles it.
You know,
Okay,
and I will say, we did check on why this even came about, and I'm trying to remember now because it's been a while, but I believe it was because of big cities that they
Yes.
decided to propose this. It really doesn't have to do with towns that typically
Okay.
have, you know, two
Right.
police officers at each precinct or whatever, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there a motion to delegate the authority to the chief of police?
so moved.
In a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
John?
All right.
Anita?
Aye, and good question to John, even when you're at the beach.
Yeah. Aye. And yeah, John, just so you know, we've all noticed that you're at the beach. We just want you to know that, okay?
Yeah, I was wondering if you might have noticed that.
All right. Okay. We're at our next item, which is to review the draft request for proposals for an executive search firm and consider appointing members to the town manager search committee. So let's take this in steps, okay? The first step is we have a draft of a proposal for an RFP for an executive search firm. Scott and I worked on it. We sent it to Jody and to town council. They did further work on it and further modified and edited it. So what you have, what we've given all of you is sort of our best efforts. I am open. Like I said, I have no pride of authorship here. I'm open to comments and suggestions with respect to it, and also particularly with the timeline that we've laid out here, and the way, how we're hoping that this will unfold. So any comments, suggestions from anybody? John?
I think it looks pretty good. I mean, I looked at it, tried to find fault with it, couldn't. Have we done this way before?
So yes, the last time we searched for a town manager, which was 14 years ago, we did put out a request for an executive search firm to help us. And we did hire a firm to help us do that. And it was through an RFP. And then that firm helped. There was then a search committee that was put together, and that firm helped the search committee. As I recall, some of the things that the search firm did was, they did the advertising for us. They gathered all of the resumes that were submitted and went through them, at least to begin with, forwarded them obviously to the committee members, then helped and worked with the committee members to sort of cull down, who we were going to interview and who we weren't going to interview, then helped us set up interviews. And I mean, they did all of that kind of work for us. And so I would expect that, and I think that this proposal captures that, is that that's what they would do again this time.
Okay, thank you.
Jody?
Thank you. I did ask Greg Corbett to take a final look after I made edits. And one suggestion he had is, on the first page, I said, if there's questions, they should be sent to my office and I would coordinate with a subgroup of the select board. He said, if the select board designate a subgroup, that needs to be posted and open meeting law. So I would prefer to just change that I will coordinate with the chair. And I think Scott will be part of that instead. So we're not creating another public body, if that's okay with you. Is that all right?
Sure. Scott?
That's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, we don't want to create a subgroup. So I'll make that edit. Thank you.
Okay. With that, is there a motion to approve the RFP?
So moved.
In a second? Okay, all those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. So Jody, when do we get this out?
We are going to release this August 16th, which is next Tuesday at 8 a.m.
Great. That sounds good. Thank you. All right. We're on our way, so to speak. All right, then the next item we have to talk about is appointing members to the Town Manager's Search Committee. But before we get to that, I think as a board, we need to decide the composition of the committee, as well as the number of members that we're going to appoint. As I recall from our last meeting, and we didn't reach any decision, but we talked about a committee of 9 involving 2 select board members, a designee from the FinCom, a designee from school committee, and then 5 at-large residents. So I'm throwing that out there for further discussion because, as I said, we hadn't reached any agreement on that yet, but open to hearing people's thoughts about that. Scott?
I guess you were around last time. Was there a planning board rep for last time or not?
There was a planning board rep. It was me, because I was on the planning board at the time. So there was a planning board rep at that point in time. I think part of the reason is 14 years ago, planning and development, and I don't mean to say that planning and development is any less important today than it was 14 years ago, but the town was in a phase of development that was much higher, okay, and had many more development projects going on at that time than it does today. You know, I'm open if people want to put a designee of a planning board on the committee. You know, I don't have any issues with that, but that was, I think, the thinking behind it back then.
I've got no strong feelings. I'm just curious. You're right. We were going like gangbusters back then. We couldn't build schools fast enough. It's a very different world today.
Yeah. So what are people's thoughts?
I think,
Go ahead, John, and then Anita.
yeah, I think 9 is a good size. We can't do 22. And so if I would read that right, then we would be trying to select 5 out of 22 here. Okay. I think the size is about right. Yeah. The challenge is going to be to pick 5 out of 22.
Right. I understand that and appreciate that.
I recognize many names on it. So.
Anita?
I would also support 9. I agree with John. We don't want to, I don't think a big committee would be efficient here.
And Scott?
Yes, I want to be clear. So the search committee is really to work with the search firm to narrow down, hopefully, many resumes to a handful of, say, 3 to 5 finalists, which then the board would interview along with other town stakeholders, correct?
Yes, I mean, what happened at the end of the day, the search committee and what happened at the end of the day is that, at least last time, is that I believe we recommended 3. Jody probably remembers better than I do. I remember 2. I remember you, Jody, and another gentleman. I can't remember if there was a 3rd gentleman or not, but she's nodding yes. But we recommended 3 to the select board at that time, and then the select board conducted public interviews with the 3 candidates. Right, Jody?
Yes, and the reason it's generally 3 is because it is public then. So your candidates that you're down to the finalist, it is public. So their current employer knows that they're a finalist. So it's kind of good to narrow that down to who you really think you're interested in.
Mhm. So yes, the answer to your question, Scott, is yes.
One of the points is to clarify to the town that this committee is not picking the town manager. They're helping
Right.
boards narrow down the field to make that decision.
Right, exactly. It's sort of akin to, what the school committee went through picking their superintendent. They narrowed down their field with their search committee, and then there was the entire school committee that interviewed folks and then selected the superintendent. So with that, if we're agreeable that the committee should be 9 people, 5 of which are going to be residents at large, we're now left with the difficult task of choosing 5 people from the 22 people who have applied to be on the committee. So first of all, let me say to the 22 people, thank you very much for applying. We very much appreciate it. Clearly, all of you take a tremendous interest in the managing and the governance of our town, and we're very grateful for all of you to submitting your applications. That being said, we can only pick 5 of you. And so I suspect that there will be some disappointed people tonight, and I'm sorry about that. But certainly we appreciate it. As we just discussed, the finalists, will be subject to public interviews. So you certainly will be able to see who the finalists are and to watch the public interviews. So with that, Anita?
I know I'm cutting you off, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone who's interested or still interested in being on the committee looked through the RFP and understood that timeline. I know that the school committee actually, I think they chose their consultants before they put together the steering committee, so then they knew what dates to kind of put on hold. So for the RFP that we just approved, we're looking at candidate interviews in November. So it's going to be a really busy fall, October, November.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So yeah, I think that is important. So for folks to understand that, there will be a lot going on, and I am certainly aware that it's a holiday. We start to run into the holidays as well. Okay, Scott.
Well, one way to make the list a little bit shorter is to say, we got some great department heads. I don't want to go picking any one of them. And also, they're picking their own boss. So, would this be a case where we could narrow the field by saying we want to rule out reports to the town manager from the list and be fair?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Scott.
I think that's fair and that's reasonable. That it's that we are talking about their boss, and for the reasons that both Scott and John said, I would agree that they should not be on the search committee.
Okay.
So.
I don't know where to start.
I guess also sort of as I look forward and just thinking in terms of, how to start and where to start. I also think, we've spent a lot of time over the last year talking about DEI And I think it's important that we try and have a diverse committee that reflects the diversity in Westford today. So I think that that's, we should take that into consideration as well. So, Scott?
I guess, how do you want to, do we each nominate 5? Do we, I mean, how do you want to?
I know, I'm trying to think,
Process work.
do we each nominate 5 people? Do we each nominate 3 people? 1, 2, 3, 4, we could have, each of us could nominate 3 different people. We could have 12 candidates that we're going to have to vote for. I don't want to dictate, how we do this, but I'm open to having each one of us, nominate anywhere from 3 to 5 candidates.
I spent a lot of time looking at this list because there are some, there's a lot of.
There are a lot of good people here.
Right. And I worked hard to get it down to 8. So I kind of got down to 5. So if we each picked 5, maybe that's.
Okay.
I'm not sure how I could do 3 right now, but.
All right. So do people want to do 5? I mean, let's put it this way. You can do up to 5. Okay. If somebody doesn't want to do 5 or whatever, I don't know, but do we want to say that people can nominate 5 people for the 5 positions? Does that make sense to folks? Anita's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. Ooh, there's a question also in the chat, Andrea.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had.
It's a new one that popped in.
It's not showing. Anita, can you tell me what it is? Because
oh, sure. It's from Jamie, and Jamie Holmes, and she's
okay.
like,
It's not showing up on my chat. So
okay, let me try and do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Did that go?
You can just read it.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also noticed the school committee members on the list. If they are already appointing someone, could it be that person? Yes, I think so. I mean, I think that the school committee is going to have a person on the committee, and it could be the and this is public, and the person, Valerie Young is the individual who has applied. So it could be her going back to the school committee as the school committee's designate. Thanks, Anita. Like I said, it didn't pop up on mine until like just now. John, are you okay with nominating 5 people?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will try and keep track. Okay. Actually, John, you should keep track. You're the clerk.
Oh, boy.
But I'll try and keep track too. All right.
Okay. All right. I forgot about that.
That's at the beach. Come on.
All right. Scott, do you want to start?
No, but I will.
I know nobody wants to start.
Alphabetical order that I picked.
Mm-hmm.
Noel Almeida. I apologize if I butcher the name, but Peng Yang Bao, Chris Barrett, Nancy Cook, Bob Waskevich.
What was that last one?
Bob Waskevich.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anita, you want to go next?
Sure. So if we have overlapping people,
that's fine.
Okay. Okay. So I also nominate Heining, Chris Barrett, Noel, Joan Bennett, and Diane Wood.
Okay. John?
Okay. I nominated Noel, Chris Barrett, Nancy Cook, Diane Wood, and then I also painting bio. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Got it. And then me. I also nominated Noel and
Okay.
Haining, Joan Bennett,
All right.
Chris Barrett, and my last one is Bob Wiskevich.
Okay.
All right, so based on my count, it appears that we have a consensus on Noel.
Bio. Yeah. Chris Barrett.
Chris Barrett.
Okay. So those three are unanimous. And then we've got Joan Bennett with 2, Nancy Cook with 2, Diane Wood with 2, Robert Waskevich with 2. Each of them's got 2 votes.
Right.
So out of those 3, we should be able to vote again, I guess.
Well, right, out of those 4.
Or 4, okay.
You're doing a very good job, John.
I don't know whether I am or not, okay.
No, you are. Okay, so out of, we have those 4 and 2 to appoint out of those 4. And we only have 4 people here tonight, so we might not, I'm not sure we're gonna, I don't know, we can see what happens. Scott?
Just a thought, do we want to pick 2 and then 2 alternates? I don't think we have a problem with people not showing up, but this is a important committee. We don't want to have a non-vote because it was something missing.
We could do that, and the alternates could certainly, I mean, I think the only difference is, at least I would suggest, is that the alternates could attend. They just don't have a vote unless one of the other members, wasn't there. I know we've done that in the past.
It just seemed we had a pretty, we went from 22 to what, 9 very fast.
9.
So
or 7 actually, I think.
7, right? So I hate, given how close we are, I hate to say, well, no one. It's either 2 or nothing. I'd like to have them. We can pick which 2 are the voting, which 2 are alternates, but at least they all would have the chance to be part of the process.
I'm fine with that. Anita?
I would also be fine at cutting it off at 3. I know we just said 5, but I mean, all 4 of us picked those top 3. So obviously those are candidates that I think we're all comfortable with and to move forward with. And Tom's not here. And I don't know, John, if you did the breakdown of who voted for whom, but I would rather even go small, 3 I'm comfortable with, because we're also talking about a school committee, FinCom, and 2 select board. It's a committee of 7. And I think as we're doing interviews, I know we've done a lot already in general for other positions, you do have a group consensus. I feel like even with 4 people, so I feel like, 7 or 9, I'm not sure if we're going to have a huge difference in scores or something.
Okay. John or Scott, do you want to say that it's 7, or do you want to stick with 9 and 2 alternates, or what's the pleasure?
I'll stand by my opinion,
Yeah.
but
that's fine. I think I agree with Scott. Is 9 is what we said, and I'm willing to go with 2 alternates as well. John?
Yeah, I think sticking with 9. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're left with the decision of who to appoint as voting members and who to appoint as the alternates. And Since I went last time, I will do it this time in reverse order so that nobody feels put upon.
Let's get the name one more time. I make sure I have.
Sure. So the four people are, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, are Joan Bennett,
Yep.
Nancy Cook,
Right.
Diane Wood, and Bob
Yes.
Witkiewicz.
That's right.
Okay. So those are the four people. So I'm going to go backwards. So it's fair. So Scott doesn't have to go first again. So I will start. And the two that I will recommend as being voting members are Joan Bennett and Bob Witkiewicz.
Okay. And Bob Witkiewicz, okay. All right.
John, you are next.
Okay. I go with Nancy Cook and Bob Witkiewicz.
Anita.
Joan Bennett and Diane Wood.
And Scott?
Nancy and Bob.
Okay, so Bob got 3 votes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, John?
Yes.
Nancy got 2, right?
Yes.
Joan
Bennett.
got 2, right?
Right.
And
I think Diane got 1, right?
and Diane got 1.
Okay. So Bob's got 3.
Mm-hmm. So I think that
Yeah.
would put him on the committee.
Right.
Diane got 1, so I would say that she would be an alternate.
Alternate, right.
And now we're left with to decide between Nancy and Joan.
Okay. Now for the next vote.
Okay, Anita? I know you're not voting, you have your hand up, I know that.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering, so we were split 2 and 2, right, on these 2 individuals of like Joan and Nancy. Should we talk about like why, or do we just want to vote?
I think we can talk about why.
Okay. I really appreciate that Joan's on the Personnel Advisory Committee. She has the HR background, and I feel like we need that perspective on our committee.
That's why I have voted for her, is that I know she has like 20 odd years in background of HR and senior HR, and I know, and she's on the Personnel Advisory Committee. I think she might be chair, but I'm not sure about that. But I know she's on the Personnel Advisory Committee, and so like you, Anita, I think that's a voice and a perspective that we should have on the committee. So that's why I've supported her. Scott or John, anybody want to say anything else? And that's not to say I also do not want to minimize the contributions that Nancy Cook has made to the town. But
well, and I don't want to minimize the value of an HR person either. I just felt like from Nancy's perspective, it's, you know, she's been involved in the town government, both staff and volunteer, very well aware of the needs of our seniors and sort of perhaps lower income individuals that we often tend to overlook. And she, we discussed DEI, she is the only member of the DEI committee that has applied.
well, I think, isn't Henning a member of the DEI too, Anita? Yeah.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Thanks.
Yeah.
John just disappeared. John, are you still here?
Yeah, I don't know how I disappeared, but
there you are.
I didn't do it. Anyway, at least I don't think I did. Yeah, I just, Nancy's done so much for the town, and I've seen her on so many committees. I guess having somebody that's on the personnel committee would be good to it. I could switch to Joan. We have a tie here because I still think we'll work with Nancy on quite a few things. So I guess one of us is going to have to change if we're going to do this. And so I'll go ahead and endorse, I think, Joan Bennett then.
Okay. All right, then we'll.
And put Nancy as an alternate.
Absolutely. All right, so I do believe we have our committee, which consists of Noel Almeida, Henning Bauer, Chris Barrett, Bob Wiskevich, and Joan Bennett.
Yes.
We need, and I have reached out to the FinCom, and I know I will certainly, I think I've reached out to Chris Saunders, but I can't remember, but I'll certainly reach out to the school committee and ask them for their designees. And then, guys, we have to appoint 2 of us, okay? Last but not least, we have to appoint 2 of us. I will say I would like to be on the search committee. I think I add value, having been through it 14 years ago. And I've worked and, you know, I've seen the process. I think our search committee 14 years ago did a great job. And so I'm just making a pitch that I'd like to be on it. And I leave it to the 3 of you to decide.
Well, I certainly want, I mean, if you look at past success being indicator of future performance, you pick Jody, so yes, you automatically, in my mind, go head of the class.
Thank you. Anita?
I also support you being on the committee. And I kind of wonder if this is why Tom's not here tonight.
I don't know.
But I'd also be happy to serve on it, or fight you and John for a seat.
You know, we don't have, you guys don't have to decide that tonight. We can certainly decide it at a later date if you want to do that. You guys, you know, can figure out who wants to be on it.
I think I mean, so to me, I think you're the clear choice, Andrea, and I think that I'd like to hear if Tom has the interest or not before we him or not.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with, like I said, I'm fine with whatever you want, whatever you guys want to do, I'm fine. So we can just wait till Tom gets back and figure out who the other person will be. Sound like a plan? Okay. All right. Once again, I want to thank everybody who applied. We really appreciate it. We had a tough decision to make tonight, and we had to make some decisions. And just because we did not select you, please don't go away feeling that we are unappreciative of your interest, and that we did not appreciate all of the what you bring to the table and all of the character to the table. We just could only pick 5. So I did want to say thank you to everybody again. Anita?
There were a couple of comments in the chat, Andrea.
Okay. Jamie Holmes wrote, I appreciate that we are looking for a diverse group, but is the age bracket diverse? I honestly don't know, because I didn't ask people's ages, and we don't ask people's ages. Our town is represented by an older demographic in general. This process is extremely bizarre to me. Should our applications have been reviewed so you would actually know who all the candidates are? I honestly do not even want to be in this committee based off of this process, but it is concerning how this is being handled. That was Jamie Holmes. I can answer the first part of that is yes, all of the applications were reviewed by all of us. And as Scott said, and I think I can speak for everybody, we spent a lot of time looking at these applications and considering them. So that is the answer to that question. And then finally, we have another comment that is totally unrelated to this discussion, but goes back to our earlier discussion about the surplus land. And it is Mark Uden who owns 25 Burn Avenue. I think I missed early discussion on considering on disposing Burn Ave and Pine Tree Trail. Have the select board made any decision? Thanks. Yes, we did, Mark. We declared the 2 parcels surplus, which is the first step that needs to be done in terms of the town disposing of these properties. The next step is to bring it to town meeting, because ultimately it is town meeting that has the final say in whether or not we will dispose of the property. And I believe we also discussed holding a public auction for these 2 properties should the town approve the sale. So that's what we did, Mark. Jody?
I don't think you actually took a vote on appointing these people.
You're
so
right.
I just want to be sure you take that vote for the record.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you for pointing that out.
Picked up that.
Hey, the clerk's done a great job, okay? Need a motion to appoint Noel Almeida, Heiningbow, Chris Barrett, Bob Wiskevich, and Joan Bennett as voting members, and Nancy Cook and Diane Wood as alternates to the town manager's search committee.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thanks, Jody, for keeping us honest. Oops. All right. Okay, we're finishing up under old and new business. We have a request from the town clerk to appoint election officers for terms expiring July 31st, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the election officers as listed in our packets tonight?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
All right.
Aye. Okay, do we have any board reports or updates? I don't see any. We have minutes for approval and release from our June 14th and 2022 and July 22nd, 22 meetings. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Jody, town managers report.
Yes, thank you. I don't know whether you would like me to read this or whether you want to waive the reading. What's your pleasure?
I think we decided you probably should read them just so the public knows what we're voting on.
So I'm requesting approval of the following grants. Metropolitan Area Planning Council for services related to the operation of the Upper Merrimack Valley Medical Reserve Corps in the amount of $47,000. National Association of County and City Officials for Medical Reserve Corps in the amount of $75,000. Contracts, Lexi Pool LLC for 12-month access to Cortico Shield Law Enforcement Wellness Application, the amount of $10,500. Nancy Burns for Upper Merrimack Valley Reserve Corps Coordinator in the amount of $47,000. Nesra Engineering LLC for professional engineering for the renovation of basketball and tennis courts at the Jack Wash Fields in the amount of $40,150. And purchase orders, Dennis K. Burke for fiscal year 23 gas and diesel fuel in the amount of $44,000. And K Logic LLC for web filtering appliances in the amount of $19,931. Wave Guide for fiber cabling for the cemetery department in the amount of $15,612.22. And Make Peace for a large format multifunction printer in the amount of $11,495.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, just raise your hands. Okay. Is there a motion to waive reading correspondence?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hands. Thank you. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
In a second?
Second.
Yeah, all those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you all very much. I know it's been a long meeting with a lot of detail and a lot of important items on it. Appreciate everybody's help. Thank you, Westford. Good night, everybody. Stay safe.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Stay safe.